I moved there 4 months ago, and I think when you invest in a country like Myanmar or any frontier market, you've got to be on the ground. But particularly for a country like Myanmar that goes through unprecedented historical changes.
What is the mood there like now? Is there a lot of optimism? Is there a lot of hope? Or are you really ahead in feeling that?
I think the business class, the entrepreneurs, and the public at large are very excited about these changes. Obviously, the country has been in isolation for 50 years. And this country, if you look back 50 years ago, was one of the most wealthiest countries in Southeast Asia. And the country unfortunately lost those positions. However, this is a historical opportunity for this the country that is rich in natural resources, to really regain those positions.
Alisher, what is going to make it different? And I understand there's so many differences in the political system and in the kind of transition, but we've seen, for example, with a lot of African nations, right, that there are places where there are tons of natural resources and minerals in the ground, but it really hasn't made it any easier for outside investors. Obviously, you are more optimistic on Myanmar. Why is that?
I think it has to do with the government there and its intention to reform the economy. There's also strong opposition. Obviously, we have an iconic opposition leader, Aung San Suu Kyi. And we also have a geography which I think is a big difference for Myanmar compared to some of the African countries. This country is located next to China, India, and the dynamically growing countries of ASEAN, Southeast Asia. And that geography being next to it, really at the heart of Asia, I think will make a difference.
You just launched a $25 million private equity fund, is that right?
That's right.
What kinds of businesses? I'm assuming a lot of it has to be in so-called human capital, right? Because if some of the businesses are mining or manufacturing, I mean, you need to have workers.
Yes, we had made a conscious focus on investing and developing so-called knowledge-intensive industries. And we're talking about education, healthcare, media, IT, because that's the areas where I think the capital is quite scarce, and that's where we think we can play a meaningful role in helping the next generation of Myanmar entrepreneurs to make a difference and build successful businesses.
Because, Alisher, when we think of private equity here, we think of it as going in and buying companies, or not necessarily buying companies, investing in companies.
Buyouts.
Yes, exactly. But I'm assuming, and it could be completely ignorant on my part, that there's actually not that much to buy there.
Absolutely. Because as the country has been in isolation for decades, the private sector there is not very developed. And as a result, you see that there are no structured, developed, large enterprises there, at least in the private sector.
So you're really building more than, it's almost a misnomer to be PE in the terms that we think of it.
In fact, it's actually venture capital, because that's where it
makes more sense.
That's right.
What kinds of, I mean, you said that you do think that the government is committed to change there, because from an investor's point of view, as there are in any developing markets, there are a lot of risks. I mean, a third of the population is still very poor, and as you said, after 50 years of basically desolate circumstances, change has to happen slowly. What is your time frame when you invest in projects? What is reasonable for you to expect?
We're looking at around 4, 5, 6 years in terms of our horizon for our investments. We take a long-term view. We're also hopeful that we will follow up with a larger fund down the road to be able to provide larger capital for companies that will go to the next step in their development. But in terms of the risk, you're absolutely right. This is a country that still faces a number of challenges. It's on a political front in terms of the reconciliation, the process of national reconciliation. Also, geopolitical risk in the region, as we know, are there.